The morning started like any other Tuesday in June. I remember hitting the snooze button twice before dragging myself out of bed for school. The house was quiet, unusually quiet, but I didn't think much of it. Mom sometimes left early for her shifts at the hospital, and Dad's construction job started before dawn. My younger brother Jake was probably still asleep. I shuffled to the kitchen, expecting to find the usual post-it note from Mom about leftovers in the fridge, or reminding me to take Jake to soccer practice. There was a note, all right, but it wasn't stuck to the fridge. It was centered perfectly on the empty kitchen table, held down by Mom's favorite coffee mug, the one I'd made for her in 7th grade ceramics class with World's Best Mom painted in crooked letters. My name was written on the envelope in Dad's blocky handwriting. Sarah. Just Sarah, not Sweet Pea or Princess like he'd called me since I could remember. My stomach did this weird flip as I picked it up. The paper felt heavy, expensive, not our usual scratch pad stuff. Sarah, by the time you read this, we'll be gone. The house payment is covered through the end of the month. After that, you'll need to figure it out. You've always been the strong one. This is for the best. Don't try to find us. I read it 3 times before the words actually registered. Then I ran. First to their bedroom, the closet doors hung open, empty hangers swaying like skeletons. The dresser drawers were pulled out, nothing left but a few loose buttons and dust bunnies. Their bathroom, Dad's razor was gone, Mom's makeup bag, her medications, everything. Jake's room was next. His posters of soccer players still covered the walls, but his clothes were gone. His PlayStation, his lucky cleats, even his goldfish. They took his goldfish but left me. I called Mom's cell. Disconnected. Dad's too. The landline at Mom's work rang and rang until finally someone picked up. She quit, the receptionist said, sounding bored. Gave notice 2 weeks ago. Said the family was relocating. 2 weeks. They'd been planning this for 2 weeks while I sat across from them at dinner, helped Jake with his homework, watched television with Dad on Sunday nights. 2 weeks of looking me in the eye and knowing they were going to leave me. The first week was a blur of denial and desperate detective work. I called every relative I could think of. Aunt Jenny in Phoenix claimed she hadn't heard from them in months. Grandma Helen in Florida seemed genuinely shocked but offered nothing except, "Your parents always did march to their own drum, dear." I went to the police on day 3. The officer, a tired-looking woman with kind eyes, listened to my story and then shook her head. "You're 17, almost 18. Unless there's evidence of abuse or neglect prior to this, it's considered family abandonment, not child abandonment in the legal sense." "I'm sorry. Honey, have you considered reaching out to social services?" Social services. Foster care. With 3 months until my 18th birthday, I knew kids who'd been in the system. It wasn't happening. Not to me. The refrigerator had been strategically stocked. Enough food for maybe 2 weeks if I was careful. The pantry, too. They'd left me provisions like I was embarking on some solo camping trip instead of being abandoned by my entire family. There was even an envelope in the freezer with $500 in cash. $500 to start a new life. I found other things as the days went on. They'd canceled my cell phone plan but left the account information so I could set up my own. They'd removed me from the car insurance but left the 2001 Honda Civic I'd been driving. The title mysteriously transferred to my name and left in the glove compartment. Every discovery felt like another slap, another calculated step in their grand abandonment plan. School became my refuge and my torture chamber. I couldn't tell anyone what had happened. How do you explain that your family just left? That they packed up your little brother and disappeared like you were some shameful secret they needed to escape? So I smiled. Said my parents were traveling for work, that Jake was staying with relatives for a while. My best friend Emma noticed something was off. "You okay, Sar? You seem really tired lately." "Just stressed about finals," I lied, becoming an expert at deception. "And college applications, you know?" "College." Right. I'd been accepted to State University with a partial scholarship. Had been so excited to tell my parents to make them proud. The acceptance letter was still on my dresser, now feeling like a mockery of the future I thought I'd have. By week 3, reality hit like a sledgehammer. The mortgage was $1,800 a month. The electric bill arrived, $200. Water, gas, internet, it all added up to more than I'd ever imagined. I had $287 left from the freezer money, and no idea what I was going to do when the month ended. I got a job at McDonald's, then another at a grocery store. I went to school from 7:30 to 3 o'clock, McDonald's from 4 o'clock to 10 o'clock, and stocked shelves from midnight to 4 a.m. on weekends. I learned to sleep in my car between shifts, to wash my hair in the school bathroom, to steal toilet paper from work because I couldn't afford to buy it. The guidance counselor, Mrs. Peterson, pulled me aside one day. "Sarah, you're falling asleep in class. Your teachers are concerned." "I'm fine," I insisted, the words automatic now, "just working a lot to save for college." She studied me with those sharp eyes that had seen too many kids with too many secrets. "If you need help, any kind of help, my door is always open." I almost broke then, almost told her everything. But what could she do? Call social services? I'd be 18 in 6 weeks. I just had to survive 6 more weeks. The house was eerily quiet at night. Every creak made me jump. Every shadow looked like someone breaking in. I moved my mattress to the living room because the bedrooms felt too vulnerable, too exposed. I kept a baseball bat next to me and Dad's old hunting knife under my pillow. The girl who used to be afraid of scary movies now slept with weapons, just in case. I started selling things. First, the unnecessary stuff. Mom's china we only used on holidays, Dad's golf clubs gathering dust in the garage, the treadmill no one ever used. Craigslist became my lifeline. Each sale bought me another week, another few days of utilities, another tank of gas. Then came the day I'd been dreading. The 30th of April, the last day the mortgage was covered. I'd managed to scrape together $900, half of what I needed. The bank wouldn't negotiate with a 17-year-old. Have your parents call us, they kept saying. We need to speak with the homeowners. May 1st. I didn't go to school. Instead, I packed everything I could fit into my Honda Civic. My clothes, some photos I couldn't bear to leave behind, Mom's coffee mug, I don't know why I took it. Maybe proof that they'd existed, that I'd once had a family who was supposed to love me. The eviction notice would come soon. Better to leave on my own terms than be forced out. I drove around town for hours, past Emma's house where her family was probably having dinner together, past the soccer field where I used to cheer for Jake, past the hospital where Mom used to save lives while planning to destroy mine. I ended up at a storage facility on the outskirts of town. Climate-controlled units from $50 a month, the sign promised. The night security guard, an older guy named Carl, barely looked up from his newspaper when I drove in. Perfect. I rented the smallest unit they had, 5x 5 feet, just big enough for a twin mattress if I kept it diagonal. $50 a month felt like a fortune. But it was better than sleeping in my car where cops might find me. I told the manager I was storing stuff for my parents who were traveling. He didn't ask questions when I paid cash. That first night in the storage unit was the lowest point. I lay on the bare mattress, using my winter coat as a blanket, and finally let myself cry. Sob, really. The kind of crying that makes your whole body hurt, that leaves you gasping and choking on your own snot. I cried for the family I'd lost, for the brother who didn't even fight for me, for the future that had been stolen. But somewhere around 3 a.m., something shifted. The tears dried up, replaced by something harder, sharper, anger, no, rage. Pure, crystallized rage that burned through the self-pity and hurt. They thought I wouldn't survive. They'd literally bet against me. The strong one, they'd called me in that note. Like it was a burden, a curse. Fine, I'd be strong. I'd be so strong it would haunt them. I turned 18, 2 weeks later, alone in a storage unit, eating a Twinkie from the gas station as my birthday cake. No one at school knew. Emma texted asking if I wanted to hang out, but I told her I was sick. Legally, an adult now, I could at least stop looking over my shoulder for social services. Graduation came and went. I walked across that stage in a cap and gown I'd bought at Goodwill, scanning the crowd despite myself, some stupid part of me hoping to see them. Emma's family cheered for me, thinking my parents were working. I told everyone they were devastated to miss it. College was no longer an option. That partial scholarship required me to maintain housing, have a permanent address, things I couldn't fake anymore. I deferred enrollment, telling myself it was just for a year, 1 year to get on my feet. The storage unit life became routine. Shower at the gym, a membership was cheaper than rent and came with hot water and Wi-Fi. Wash clothes at the laundromat, study at the library, work every shift I could get. I became a ghost, existing in the spaces between real life. 6 months in, I met Marcus at the grocery store. He was the night manager, a guy in his 30s who'd started as a stock boy and worked his way up. He caught me eating expired sandwiches in the break room, and instead of firing me, he sat down. "How long you been homeless, kid?" I bristled. "I'm not homeless, I have a place." He laughed, not mean, just knowing. "Yeah, I had a place too once. 2008 recession hit, lost everything. Lived in my car for 8 months. I know the look." Marcus became my unlikely mentor. He taught me about P&L statements, inventory management, supply chain logistics. Boring stuff that suddenly became fascinating when I realized it was the language of business, of money, of never being vulnerable again. "You're smart," he said one day, watching me reorganize the delivery schedule to save the store 2 hours of labor. "Scary smart. Why are you here?" So I told him the whole story. He listened without interrupting, his face getting darker with each detail. "They left you, a kid, their kid." He shook his head. "You know what? Screw them. You're going to make something of yourself that'll make them regret every choice they made." That became my mantra. Success is revenge. Success is survival. Year 2 of my new life, I was promoted to assistant manager at the grocery store. The pay bump meant I could afford a real apartment, a studio so small you could touch both walls if you stretched, but it had a door that locked and a shower that was mine. I cried the first night there too, but they were different tears. Proud tears. I started taking online classes in business management. Discovered I had a knack for seeing inefficiencies, for optimizing systems. The grocery store implemented 3 of my ideas and saved $30,000 in the first quarter. Marcus made sure corporate knew exactly whose ideas they were. That's when Rebecca Chen noticed me. She was a regional director, came in for what was supposed to be a routine store visit. Instead, she spent 3 hours grilling me about my ideas, my vision, my plans. "How old are you?" she asked finally. 20. "Where did you go to school?" "I'm self-taught. Online courses, books, observation." She hired me on the spot for her corporate team. Logistics coordinator. Salary: $65,000. I'd never seen that much money in my life. The corporate world was a different beast. I was the youngest person in every meeting, the only one without a degree. Some people tried to dismiss me, to treat me like an intern. But Rebecca had my back, and more importantly, my ideas worked. I restructured distribution routes and saved the company $2 million in the first year. "Where did you come from?" the CEO asked at the annual meeting, after presenting me with an innovation award. "Nowhere special," I said, thinking of that storage unit, of that note on the kitchen table. Just worked my way up. By 23, I was running my own division. By 25, I was headhunted by a Fortune 500 company. The salary they offered made me laugh out loud during the negotiation. Not because it was low, but because it was more than my parents had probably made combined in their best year. Success, I learned, was the best revenge, but also the loneliest companion. I had money now, more than I knew what to do with. I bought a condo in the city, a car that didn't break down every other week, clothes that weren't from thrift stores, but I couldn't shake the habits of survival. I still hoarded food, still kept cash hidden around my apartment, still had nightmares about finding that note. I dated occasionally, but never let anyone get too close. How do you explain the gap where your family should be? How do you tell someone that the people who were supposed to love you most decided you weren't worth keeping? "You're like a fortress," one ex said as he left. "Beautiful and impressive, but impossible to get into." He wasn't wrong. At 27, I started my own consulting firm. All those years of seeing how broken systems could be fixed, of understanding efficiency at a bone-deep level because waste had once meant starvation. It made me exceptional at what I did. Companies paid me obscene amounts to tell them what they were doing wrong. The irony wasn't lost on me. The girl who couldn't figure out how to keep her family was now paid to solve everyone else's problems. Then came the contract with Technosoft, a middle-sized tech company trying to streamline their operations. I was reviewing their employee database when I saw it. Jake Morrison. My brother's name. My brother's birthday. My brother's face staring back at me from an employee ID photo. He was 25 now, an engineer. He'd grown tall, lost the baby face. But I'd know those eyes anywhere. Mom's eyes. The ones that had watched me help him with homework 2 weeks before they all disappeared. I should have recused myself from the contract. Should have walked away. Instead, I made sure I was in every meeting, studied every department, learned everything I could about the life he'd built without me. He didn't recognize me at first. Why would he? I'd changed too, no longer the skinny, scared teenager but a polished professional in designer suits. We were in a meeting about redundancies in his department when he suddenly went pale, staring at me like he'd seen a ghost. "Sarah?" The conference room went quiet. I kept my face neutral, professional, though my heart was trying to pound its way out of my chest. "I think you have me confused with someone else," I said coolly. "Shall we continue with the presentation?" But Jake wasn't letting it go. After the meeting, he cornered me in the hallway. "It is you. Sarah, oh my God, it's really you." "I don't know what you're talking about." "Stop it," his voice cracked. "I know it's you. I've been looking for you for years. We all have." That stopped me cold. "We?" "Mom and Dad. They." "Sarah, please. Can we talk? Please?" Every cell in my body screamed to run, to maintain the wall I'd built, but there was something in his voice, a desperation that made me pause. "Fine, 1 coffee, that's it." We went to a Starbucks 3 blocks away. Jake's hands shook as he held his cup. "I was 13, he started. "They told me we were going on a trip. Said you were staying with friends to finish school. It wasn't until we were in Arizona that they told me the truth. That we weren't going back, and you just accepted it?" "I was 13, he repeated. "What was I supposed to do? I tried to call you, but they'd canceled your phone. I begged them to go back, to at least call you. Dad said it was for the best. That you were strong enough to handle it. That we were doing you a favor." "A favor?" I laughed, bitter and sharp. Leaving me homeless at 17 was a favor? Jake's face crumpled. "Homeless?" they said. They said they'd arranged everything. That you had money, the house, that relatives were checking on you. They left me $500 and a note. The house was foreclosed on 6 weeks later. I lived in a storage unit, Jake. I ate expired food from dumpsters. I dropped out of high school to work 3 jobs. He was crying now, ugly crying like I hadn't seen since he was little and had broken his arm falling off his bike. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. When I turned 18, I tried to find you. I hired a private investigator. But Sarah Morrison had disappeared. It was like you'd never existed. "Sarah Chen," I said quietly. I legally changed it. Morrison was the name of people who threw me away. Jake wanted to fix things immediately. He had Mom and Dad's contact information. Wanted to call them right then and there. I stopped him. "I need time. This is A lot. They'll want to know you're okay, that you're alive. Mom cries about you all the time. She cries? The laugh that came out of me was ugly. She cries about the daughter she abandoned? They regret it, Jake insisted. They've regretted it since the day we left. Dad says it was the biggest mistake of his life. Then why didn't they come back? Pride, shame, fear that you'd never forgive them. And they thought you were better off without them. Better off? I stood up. I need to go. Sarah, wait, please. Can I have your number? Can we stay in touch? I gave him my business card. Sarah Chen, CEO, Chen Consulting Group. His eyes widened as he read it. You're the Sarah Chen? The one who saved Technosoft $12 million last year? Goodbye, Jake. But he didn't let it go. The emails started that night. First from Jake, then from an address I didn't recognize but knew immediately. Mom, my darling Sarah, Jake told me he found you, that you're alive, that you're successful. I know I have no right to ask for your forgiveness, but please, let me explain. I didn't respond, but I didn't delete it either. Then came Dad. Princess, I know you hate me. You should. I failed you in every way a father can fail a daughter. But please, let me try to make it right. For 3 months, I ignored them all. Focused on work, on building my empire, on proving that I didn't need them. But Jake was persistent. He sent updates about his life, photos, memories of before. He was married now, had a baby on the way. I was going to be an aunt, and I'd never even known. Finally, on a particularly lonely Sunday, I responded to one of his emails. Just one line, I'll meet with Mom, once. That's all. The restaurant was neutral territory, expensive enough that she couldn't make a scene. I arrived early, chose a table where I could see the door, and waited. She looked older, smaller. The confident nurse I remembered had been replaced by someone fragile, uncertain. She saw me and stopped, one hand going to her heart. Sarah, it's Miss Chen now. She flinched but sat down. We ordered. The silence stretched until I thought it might snap. Why? I finally asked. Mom's explanation came in halting sentences, tears streaming down her face. Dad had lost his job, had been hiding it for months. They were drowning in debt, about to lose everything. Someone offered him work in Arizona, but only if he could start immediately. We had enough saved to take care of Jake through school, but not both of you. You were always so strong, so capable. You had that partial scholarship, and you were almost 18. We convinced ourselves you'd be fine. You convinced yourself abandoning your minor child was acceptable because I was strong? We were going to come back for you, after we got settled, got stable, but then we heard the house was foreclosed, that you'd disappeared. We thought you'd gone to live with Emma's family or maybe Aunt Jenny. By the time Jake told us the truth about what really happened to you, years had passed. We thought you were better off without us. That coming back would only hurt you more. You were cowards. Yes, she said simply. We were cowards. We are cowards. I've lived with this guilt every day for 12 years. Your father can barely look at your photos. Jake had therapy for years, blaming himself for not protecting you. Good. She flinched again but continued. I know you'll never forgive us. I don't expect you to. But Sarah, please know that not a day has gone by that I haven't hated myself for what we did. We destroyed our family to save it and ended up losing the best part of it. You. Is that supposed to make me feel better? No, nothing I say can make this better. But I needed you to know that you were loved. Are loved. Even if we failed at showing it in the most catastrophic way possible. I studied her, this stranger who used to be my mother. Do you know what the worst part was? It wasn't the hunger or the fear or sleeping in a storage unit. It was that you took Jake. You chose him over me. Every night, I wondered what was wrong with me that made me the expendable one. Nothing was wrong with you. Everything was wrong with us. We sat in silence as the food came, went cold, was taken away. Finally, I stood. I'm successful now. More successful than you can imagine. I built an empire from the ashes you left me in. And I did it specifically so that one day, when you found out, you'd know exactly what you threw away. We know, she whispered. We've known for a while. Jake sends us articles about you. Your father has a folder of every mention of your company, every award you've won. We know what we threw away. Good. I pulled out my phone, showed her my bank balance. See this? This is what the strong one built. From nothing. From less than nothing. From abandonment and betrayal. Sarah, I'm done here. Tell Dad that I'm everything he never thought I could be. Tell him his princess survived without her king. And tell Jake. I paused. Tell Jake I'll think about it. He was a kid. Maybe he deserves a second chance. But you and Dad? You're dead to me. You died the day you left that note. I walked out, leaving her crying at the table. In the parking lot, I sat in my Tesla, so far from that beat-up Honda Civic, and tried to feel something. Victory, maybe. Closure. Instead, I just felt empty. My phone buzzed. A text from Jake. Thank you for meeting with her. I know it couldn't have been easy. I'm proud of you, sis. I've always been proud of you. Then another, from an unknown number that could only be Dad. I just wanted you to know that I followed your career. Every achievement, every success. You became everything I was too weak to be. I failed you as a father, but you succeeded despite me. Because of that failure, maybe. I'm so sorry, princess, and I'm so proud. I deleted both messages. Then, after a moment, I pulled them from the trash. Not because I forgave them, but because after 12 years of silence, even their regret was something. That night, in my expensive condo surrounded by all the things money could buy, I pulled out that old note. The one that had destroyed and created me. You'll figure it out. I had figured it out. I'd figured out how to survive, how to thrive, how to build something from nothing. But I'd also figured out that some wounds don't heal. They just scar over. Some abandonments can't be undone, just acknowledged. I started therapy the next week. Not for them, but for me. For the 17-year-old girl who'd been left behind and had to become someone else to survive. For the 29-year-old woman who had everything except the ability to trust anyone. Jake and I slowly built a relationship. Cautious, careful, but real. I met his daughter, my niece. Held her and promised myself that she would never know what it felt like to be abandoned. That whatever else I was, cold, driven, unforgiving, I would be the aunt who stayed. Mom and Dad remained on the periphery. Christmas cards I didn't respond to. Birthday messages I deleted. They'd made their choice 12 years ago, and I'd made mine. Success, I learned, wasn't really revenge. It was survival. It was proof that the broken pieces of a person could be forged into something unbreakable. They were right about one thing in that note. I did figure it out. I figured out how to live without them, and in the end, that was both my greatest tragedy and my greatest triumph. The storage unit company called me last month. They were cleaning out old records and found I'd been a customer. Did I want to renew? I drove out there, stood in front of Unit 43B, such a small space to hold such a big transformation. I bought the whole building, turned it into affordable housing for young people aging out of foster care or facing homelessness. Because I did figure it out. But no 17-year-old should have to figure it out alone.